Okay, let's get into it, guys. So thank you so much for joining the webinar today. The session today is about ATB analysis, really made simple for you. My name is Lucinda Judd, and I'm the trade consultant at CreditorWatch. As you can see, we've also got Thomas Arcardi with us today, who heads up the account management team.
Hello.
We do have quite a bit of information to get through today. So look, if you do miss anything or if you'd like more information on the system, as always, you can jump on the website, reach out to me, or feel free to contact your account manager and they're more than happy to help. Really, to kind of get started, I'm going to take you through a couple of the CreditorWatch key highlights. As you can see, we've got 50,000 loyal customers. We've got, 90% of these customers are using our system exclusively, which is great, instead of doing kind of the dual bureaus. We have, in 2019, about 2 million risk alerts have been sent through, and I imagine 2020, was even more so there. And 10 million trade lines, so that's coming through from Xero, coming through from MyOb and our corporate ATBs. So really substantial, trade payment data to use specifically on DebtorLogic, which is great. Look, in today's webinar, we're going to obviously focus on DebtorLogic and ATB analysis, as I mentioned, but we kind of really want to explain why trade payment data has become an essential part of credit management and collection processes as of late. Thomas will cover off some statistics really on the economic landscape and why creditors maybe need to think outside the box and leverage some of these non-traditional data sources to identify these distressed businesses within their ledger. We are also finally going to demonstrate some of the features within DebtorLogic that can help you to really navigate late paying behaviour, risky debtors, and improve your overall collection rate across the board. We'll touch on some of the platform updates for you. Our development team have been working really hard over the last couple of months just to make the system exactly what you really need it to be in these uncertain times. And also, Thomas is going to touch on a complimentary offer we have for you as an introduction to DebtorLogic. Look, before we get started, I'll just cover off some of the really basic housekeeping points. In terms of asking questions, you should see a little Q&A pop up at the bottom of your page. And if I don't get time to answer your questions during the session, I'll definitely reach out to you as soon as we wrap up today. And in terms of a recording, this will be made available to everyone after the session's finished. But you can also jump onto our website. The webinar link will have all of our previously recorded sessions. So if you did want to look at some of those more introductory points on the system, this is where they'll be. And I'll hand it over to Thomas. He can give you a bit of a rundown of CreditorWatch and our product suite.
Okay, great. So we'll start with a little bit of a background on CreditorWatch as a whole. We have a number of different systems that make up our product suite. CreditorWatch is our core platform, which is used for credit reports. You can proactively monitor your customers and receive alerts on any changes. We have DebtorLogic, which is our focus for today, which is our ATB analysis tool. We have director due diligence. This provides more information on a director, so if they have been naughty in the past. We have Apply Easy, which is our online credit application platform. We have PPSR Logic. It's our award-winning PPSA platform, which streamlines the end-to-end process for you. We also have financial risk assessments. These allow you to assess the financial viability of an important trading partner. And finally, we also provide portfolio health checks, which is a review of your database by verifying entity details and removing incorrect information. So we'll just kick this off with a quick poll question. Just want to gauge who is currently using DebtorLogic. So we'll give it a couple of seconds for everyone to choose an option on the screen.
Should come up in a second for you all. Lovely, lots of responses. I'm going to shut that down now, so hopefully that's been enough time for you all. I will get back to those responses after the session, as I mentioned. But look, in terms of some background on DebtorLogic, and if you are new to the system, Really simply put, it is an interactive trade payment program, and it's going to give you a data-driven analysis of your H trial balance or your ATB. The system is combining both small business and corporate trade data, and all of this information is really going to give you a better understanding of what sort of risk a customer represents to your business, kind of by looking at how they pay their bills across the market. So instead of, just targeting the most outstanding debt first, which can be kind of slow and frustrating, DebtorLogic can challenge the way that you're currently collecting payment, minimizing bad debt, and identifying the risk within your ledger. So by using a system like DebtorLogic and taking a more proactive approach to your collection processes, really quickly and easily you can determine which customers are paying you late but everyone else on time, which debtors have adverse risk, cash flow issues, or ones to be wary of for multiple reasons, and also how to prioritize these collections based on the data insights, the market insights that are available within DebtorLogic. But with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Thomas. He can give you some stats on the economic landscape at the moment and reasons why you should be utilising a system like DebtorLogic.
Okay, so in today's economy, I guess trade payment data has become an essential tool when it comes to credit management. Creditors can no longer solely rely on traditional data assets such as payment defaults, court actions, insolvency notices to assess credit risk. I guess there are businesses out there that are significantly impaired or effectively insolvent, but could potentially show no signs of obvious stress. We'll go through some, I guess, stats and some data and some factors to note of what's going on in the market at the moment. I guess here we can see some best performing industries and the most impacted industries to I guess, look out for. We can also see some positive stats, defaults on a 45% decrease year on year, which is great. We can see court actions are also down year on year, which is fantastic. External administrations also down, which is good to note. However, we do see a 23% increase from November last year to December last year. So it's a little shift there. It's also, I guess, been noted by our very own chief economist, Harley Dale, that there's likely to be an explosion in business insolvencies and court actions, and it's said to be about a two-year process at best, which is something to note there. Some other factors to note, we had Kate Carnell, who is the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, in a recent media statement saying small businesses have told her that they've either been denied insurance outright or that their premiums have as much as tripled in a few years, effectively pricing them out of the market. So it's something to watch out for. Many of them have been forced to close their doors because they can't access insurance there. Another thing to note as well is most government stimulus packages like JobKeeper are due to end in March. Assistance for businesses that are trading on the brink of insolvency without a turnaround plan is coming to an end. And as of the 1st of January this year, statutory demands have been reverted to pre-COVID positions, ceasing the relief that commenced on the 25th of March 2020. The only exceptions, are businesses with temporary restructuring relief, which leads on to the significant changes to the Australia's insolvency landscape as of the 1st of Jan also, which include a new debt restructuring process for small businesses, temporary restructuring relief, and a new simplified liquidation process for small businesses. Essentially what this means is the economy in the next 12 to 18 months will continue to be unpredictable, and in this volatile climate, the key to survival is to have as much protection in place as possible. So with that said, we'll move on to a live demonstration of some of the features we have available in our ATB analysis tool, DebtorLogic.
Yeah, and I will just note with the temporary restructuring relief, if you're signed up for those marketing updates, you would have seen a little prompt for us to say we've started to receive those on the credit report. So you'll be receiving alerts, on these changes. So definitely something to keep on top of in terms of the changes to your debtors. That's a big one. But as Thomas said, I'm going to jump straight into a live demonstration and take you through DebtorLogic in some more detail. And hopefully, yeah, you can see some features here that you find helpful moving forward. Lovely. So, as you can see, DebtorLogic is, straight away available within CreditorWatch. So it's at the top toolbar here. Once it's been enabled, you'll see that pop up. But, straight away we're seeing the system is broken down into 4 main areas. Firstly, we've got the latest ATB portion, which is going to house all of your really crucial breakdowns, all of the aged receivable breakdowns and the market insights that we'll be focusing on today. But we also have historical analysis here. So essentially, the more you upload ATBs to the system, the more you're going to see these trends and line graphs generate over time. I won't focus too much on this, but again, if you're using the system, you'll see these graphs generate over time, and it's really interesting to see, how much of your ledger is falling into those more overdue buckets, or how much is falling into the more kind of current and 1 to 30 day buckets. So interesting information in there. We've also got the management reports. So every time that you're uploading data to the system, you're going to be seeing these PDF reports, which will house all of the most relevant data for you. So high risk, some percentages, some top 10 balances and things like that, that I think, are really great for you to use during your reporting periods, or maybe even pass up the ladder if necessary. The last widget here is, is the upload function. So we've made this really straightforward that you can manage this process self-sufficiently. You're simply just dragging and dropping the file, selecting an extracted date, and you're good to go. But look, if you are short on time and you'd rather me handle that, you can just send it through to me via our secure file upload, and I can do that on your behalf, which is easy enough. As I said, let's jump into the latest ATB breakdown. And straight away, what you're seeing here is a visual breakdown of your aged receivables. So I guess instead of maybe looking at a spreadsheet, you've got this pie chart here. So it's all interactive. You can click into a specific portion. Let's say you wanted to focus on the 2,000 accounts in 1 to 30, which is just shy of $3 million. So you can actually target these different portions of your ledger and pull these lists from the system. You'll also notice that you've got all the business names, all of the individual outstanding amounts within the buckets. You can toggle this information, so if maybe you wanted to focus on those accounts with the most outstanding, you can definitely do that, and you can definitely jump into the credit report to review this information yet again, and kind of do your due diligence there in terms of, what's the risk score, what's the payment predictor. All of this information is here in a really straightforward list for you to work from. If we jump back, we have our second overview here. And what this is really doing is it's kind of allowing you to understand where your risk lies in terms of the different entity types you're dealing with, the different industries you're dealing with, and the different states. So your footprint there as a business. And I guess in terms of the entity type information, what we're really doing is kind of, again, just highlighting this for you. Who are you dealing with and how are they paying? So we know that sole traders, we know that trusts and partnerships are actually a little bit more difficult to deal with, a little bit more tricky. So you could use this information to focus on those debtors first, just based on that background. And we can see here you've got about 36 accounts in sole trader and about $600,000. So you might want to jump in there and take a look who they are, and then again, how they're paying you. So if it's slightly more overdue, there's a specific list for you to target there for collections. But some really great breakdowns there for you to utilize and streamline your processes there maybe. In terms of the industry breakdown here, so as Thomas mentioned, certain industries are doing well at the moment, really thriving actually. during this COVID period, and other ones are really struggling, obviously. So you can use this additional insight to see how your ledger is looking, how the industries are looking, and how they're paying. So you can use the graph as your main view, or you can actually scroll down to this list here and actually directly compare how the different industries are paying. So who has the most in 90+ days? Just looking at this list, straight away it's accommodation. So you could, focus on these 423 accounts because they do have a large portion outstanding in 90+ days. But we know that agriculture is doing quite well, public administration and safety is doing quite well, and that's definitely being reflected in these insights here. I guess before I move on to state, you could also use this information not only for accounts receivables and for collections, but if you know that an industry is doing well, is paying well, potentially your marketing team could target that industry for cash flow. So look at other providers, other accounts, other businesses within this industry to improve that side of the business as well. So different ways you could use this information. Again, we'll move into state. Same goes. You're seeing a visual breakdown. You're seeing the list below, how many accounts, the outstanding amount in that portion. So again, you can use this information to target states that are struggling a little bit more so at the moment. But really, really nice to have additional information in this second overview. I'm going to move on to risk analysis. So as you can see, this is where it gets really, really interesting. This portion of the system straight away is showing you what portion of your ledger does have some form of adverse associated with them. So we can see you've got 422 accounts with some form of adverse, and that's almost, $8.5 million. So we're definitely going to click into that portion and see what's going on here. A big portion of this is actually payment defaults, which is a really early indication of struggle. We've also got some court actions, which is another early indicator of struggle. So you could focus on these ones. And look, I'm going to jump in payment default and just have a look at who's in here. And we'll just pick out one account and just kind of see what's going on here. But look, again, with payment defaults, we know that about 50% of businesses who do have a payment default on their record will go into administration within the next 18 months. So really, really important to keep on top of those early indications of stress. In this case, as I said, clicking into one particular credit report here, so we can just take a look at the information, look at those defaults, and look at some of the other information available. Straight away, we're seeing Bellevue Hill Liquor is impaired risk. So we've recently updated our risk scores. So this information is much more predictive now, and we're showing a percentage or a likelihood of failure or default within the next 12 months. So this one's pretty high up there, and one you'd want to be across and thinking about your credit terms with them and maybe changing that based on this information. You can see that's now below average or below the industry average for risk. And this is also a really good example of payment predictor information. So we can actually see, based on this graph and based on all of the data we're getting from our corporate users and their ATBs, as well as the MyOb and Xero integrations, we can see that this particular entity has completely blown out from the industry average, which is sitting at about 15 days, whereas this green line, this entity has completely blown out in June. That was peak kind of COVID time, kind of March to June, there were 11 days, and since have just completely blown out up to 90 days. So really valuable kind of indications of their payment trends over a 12-month period, just to see how they're tracking. So we'd definitely be using what's in Datalogic, and then also in conjunction with the risk score and the payment predictor information we're seeing here. This would be a great thing to look at if you're onboarding a new customer, just to see how they've behaved over the last 12 months in terms of paying their creditors. If we jump back, again, another area you could focus on is cancelled ABNs. You want to make sure that you're you're dealing with the correct entities, all of your credit applications are up to date. So this is a big one that you could potentially be losing quite a bit of money on, because if any of these entities do happen to go into administration and your credit applications are not up to date, you could be in a bit of strife there. So straight away, you've got a targeted list here of all accounts with that cancelled ABN. So I hope you find that sort of view of your ledger handy. If we jump into customer insights, so I think this is really where most of our users will find the most amount of value out of the system, because this is definitely information that you probably don't have access to at the moment unless you're using a system like this. And this is our market insights, our data insights. It's where all of our data comes into play to create an average of how your customers are paying you, and then also comparing that to how they're paying the rest of the market. So if I break down this graph, you can see that this axis here is your aged receivables or your ATB, and then we're comparing it to the market's ATB. So as always, green is generally good. They're your best customers. They typically pay you on time. They typically pay the market on time. So these are the ones that maybe you extend more credit to, or provide some sort of incentive for continuing on with that behaviour. If we look at the yellow accounts, so these debtors are paying you moderately overdue, the market moderately overdue, so ones to keep an eye on, but not concerning too much at this stage, just ones to keep your eye on. And if we, look at the late payment trends, red is always reduce your risk and monitor, because these accounts are paying you overdue, they're paying the market overdue, so there's definitely some signs of struggle there in terms of how they're paying everyone across the board. So I'd definitely be focusing on this red portion as a priority. To further break down this information, I would probably be focusing on this sort of corner of the graph for priority, because if we look at this bucket here, you've got 94 accounts, almost $600,000, and they're paying you 60 to 90 days, and the rest of the marketing current. So definitely a bit of a red flag to me, because they're paying you late, but everyone else on time, maybe using you as a bit of a bank. So I double click into this portion to see a full list of those 94 accounts, and then start your process from here. Jump on the phone and have a conversation around that. Are they paying you late due to COVID? All of those sort of reasons. You want to kind of work through these accounts with that and see what's actually going on, and see if you can get that money back in the door faster. Again, this bucket here, 90 plus days, they're paying you, but they're actually paying everyone else 1 to 30. So same goes. I'd focus on these three for that same reason. You can also see, it's giving you the total amount owed, total amount overdue, some of the average days overdue, which is what you're seeing generally speaking in those payment predictor graphs we just went through. And you're also seeing the risk score rating as of today. So, some of the D2s would be my focus, definitely. In terms of another area to focus on, I think Thomas would agree, is this portion here. I'll let him explain this one.
So this is, I guess, a key area for customers that at the top you can see are paying you current. So just up here, this is all the customers paying you current, but they are paying the market quite late. So this would be maybe a critical supplier, or you'll be a critical supplier to them. So they might be prioritising paying you, but they've stopped paying everybody else. And these are, I guess, customers that, if we dig down a bit further into their credit files and have a look at their, I guess, payment trends and what's going on there with some adverse, you might find that sooner rather than later they're going to start becoming a bit more delinquent, and you maybe want to put some things in place quite early to mitigate that risk up front. This is also, I guess, prime territory for looking into PPSR as well as some PPSR registrations to help mitigate some of that up front. So that's also been quite a popular area for customers to look into And again, you know, even if we're going back to the top right-hand corner there and you're looking at customers that are paying you late but paying everybody else on time, that's quite a powerful tool, I guess, because we're hearing a lot these days about customers not paying maybe due to COVID, but we have had a lot of experience with customers that now have insight to this, that see this and understands that although their customers are saying these types of things, they can see they are paying the rest of the market, and once they start asking questions about why that might be the case, we start seeing cash come in the door quite quickly. So it's quite a powerful tool and a great insight to sort of cut through the noise of what's happening in the market at the moment.
Yeah, and again with this box, as Thomas mentioned, you know, this is as well as a starting point for you to get on top of your PPSA registrations. It could also, you know, keep in mind that if you're not a secured creditor and you are paid a preference payment, this could get clawed back, you know, so you want to make sure those registrations are in place. The credit applications have all of the up-to-date ABNs, ACNs, and then you should be good to go, and you're going to be really secure moving forward, and you're helping to mitigate that potential risk there. So good points to focus on with the customer insights graph, and as I said, it's having those insights on what's going on in the market that's going to make all the difference over the next few months. Look, another good way to review this information is the same graph, but slightly different variables. So again, this top axis here is your ATB, and all of the numbers in here are your outstandings. But then we're directly comparing this to the risk score range. So this allows you to maybe cut through some of the noise, and straight away you can see where your money's sitting or where your books are at, because all of these here, all of this money here, which is, you know, probably over 500,000, is at a risk score range of 0. So I'm going to assume all of these accounts have a cancelled ABN, have a deregistered ACN, or are already in administration, external administration. So, you know, you can click into these boxes with a double click to see who they are. But again, it potentially could be too late for these guys, but just good for you to see how much that actually is. The, you know, in conjunction of having the outstanding amount as well can be a bit more alarming. But other boxes I'd be focusing on straight away is anything with a risk score range of, you know, 250 to 450, because that's kind of lower than average. So a good place for you to start with. I'm going to skip account list just for the time being and click into custom view. So as I said, our development team have been working really, really hard over the last even year, I would say, just to improve the system and make it more useful for everyone, and those different collection processes. But basically what you can do with custom view is actually review up to 3 custom fields and have the aged receivables breakdown as well. So you could have anything from sales type included on your ATB data, division, collectors names. I think this is quite a good one, so that you can see exactly what Felix has outstanding, how many accounts, and then he can target whether it's most outstanding, whether it's kind of earlier on in the game. He can then start to focus on those different buckets. So again, you can have up to 3 custom fields, whatever you would like, to help you identify different areas within your ledger. And that brings me to account lists. So this is where you can really hone in on specific areas and actually pull that from the system into a spreadsheet. So a lot of people are more comfortable working from a spreadsheet, and this is actually where you can do that. So if I actually wanted to focus on, just as an example, the lower risk score ranges. So these are the more kind of troublesome ones. And then also let's combine that with something like court action, payment default, some of those earlier warning signs. Straight away you've got that list there. Maybe you want to chuck in Felix. So you've got that list of less than 10 accounts that you can pull into a spreadsheet and then focus on there and hand out to Felix to manage. And there you have it. You know, you've got this list here. It's got all of the business names. It's got all of the outstanding amounts. It has that risk score range. If you wanted to pivot this, toggle it from worst to best, vice versa, you've got that option there. But as I said, you know, you've got that list there to work from to try and, you know, sort out what's going on there with the payment defaults. Really great way to use that system. You could also be doing something like focusing on cancelled ABNs. It's another good one. So have someone focus on all of the accounts with a cancelled ABN, double check the credit application, and see if everything is up to date there in terms of your records, because potentially there's quite a bit outstanding there that you could lose if things aren't up to date. But I think that's a really kind of great way to wrap up the demonstration there of these main features within the system. I guess, yeah, again, management reports is a great way to pull everything into a PDF view. Again, you've got the most relevant information to pass up the ladder, to highlight specific areas, and it's all there, good to go. If I wanted to click into high risk, I've got all of that breakdown information there for you to work off of. I think that wraps it up for me. Thomas, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I hope it was helpful, this session, and I hope there were some key takeaways when it comes to using trade payment data and market insights to your advantage. As an introduction, I guess, to DebtorLogic, we are offering a free or complimentary ATB analysis to, I guess, to highlight the riskiest debtors in your ledger. So if you would like to be contacted about this, we're about to bring up a poll question where you can answer yes or no. So we might do that now. Okay, so we'll give that a couple of seconds. So that way we can gather this and have Lucinda in contact to take you through the steps to get that going for you.
And generally what I'd be doing here is requesting a recent ATB from you. We can upload it to the system, to your account, enable DebtorLogic, and go through some of those findings together, because I find, you know, me taking you through the demo environment, although it's very insightful, I think it's always more interesting when we're using your data, your debtors, and then you can see where to go from there and whether the system is going to be beneficial to you moving forward. So definitely a good one to get involved in, but I'll close the poll for now.
Thank you for that.
Look, we've kind of run over time a little bit, so I won't have time to answer any questions that have come through live, but I'll definitely reach out as soon as possible once we wrap up today, and give you as much information as I possibly can there. But look, in the meantime, we've got some additional resources you can take a look at and peruse in your own time. We've got a how-to guide. We also have a bunch of different blog articles, case studies, much more information on the system, and customers who have utilized this system for a long time now are really seeing benefits there in terms of their collection rate and overall portfolio. So really, really great information to be found from our marketing team. But otherwise, guys, I hope you found that session useful. Please contact me if you do want to take a closer look at DebtorLogic with your own data, and I'm more than happy to help. But otherwise, we'll leave you to it.
Yeah, stay safe.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
See you later.